Welcome to the No Rain, No Rainbows podcast. This is a show about pushing through obstacles and hard times in order to live a happy and fulfilled life. I'm your host, Ted Phaeton, and it's a pleasure to have you joining us. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Let's grow. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the No Rain, No Rainbows podcast. Can we just talk? I can't do it as well as our guest today, Brad Keaton, man. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
I think our listeners are going to be blessed to not hear my singing voice for the rest of this episode. But for anybody who doesn't know who you are, I'm really excited to have you on the show, man.
Thank you.
And I'd love for you to introduce yourself to our listeners, let them know who you are and what it is you do.
Okay. Brad Keaton, singer-songwriter from Spartanburg, South Carolina. And been singing, man, for 30-plus years.
Wow.
Been songwriting for about 15, 16 now. So
Yeah. So did you always have the ability to sing, or was that something that you developed at a young age?
So it's been developing, obviously,
Sure.
the whole time to the point where I am now. But yeah, I started singing. I was born into a singing family. My mom and dad were already singing and traveling.
Nice.
My dad was a pastor at the time, so they would travel and sing, and he would preach. I was born into that, and started singing on stage with them at like 3.
Okay.
In fact, started singing a harmony part even with them at a young age. So yeah.
You're not new to this. You're
No.
true to this.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been doing it for a long time.
Now, do you think anybody can sing? And I ask that selfishly because as you just heard at the top of the show, I don't have the best singing voice. There are a couple songs, Temptation's My Girl being in particular, which is my go-to karaoke song, which just seems to work with my voice.
Yeah.
Are there songs that will work with my voice, songs that will not work on my voice? Is there a way to train to have at least a satisfactory level of tone?
Yeah.
You're shaking your head. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you've just from hearing you hit those notes, even though you were being silly, you're like, you've got a tone. You've got the tone already. It's a matter of getting the pitch correct.
Okay.
And that can be taught, I think. I think with vocal training and stuff like that, and I've heard vocal teachers say you can teach anyone to sing.
Okay.
It's more about the ear. It's more about hearing the correct notes prior to
Singing
hitting the correct notes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you have to know what you're listening for before you know what to play.
Yeah.
Kinda.
Yeah. So kind of if you learn your pitch, you learn your range, and that's a big thing with the Temptation song you mentioned. It may be that's your range.
Yeah.
And much higher than that or lower than that, whatever it is, it may be too high for you.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing I'm having to come to grips with too is I can't keep up with some of these guys all the time. You know, there's no way I should try to compete with Bruno Mars after he's been in the studio and had 3 runs at it or 4 runs at it to nail it.
Yeah.
And then me try to do that live in the same key. Like
Yeah.
why? You know what I mean? Understanding your own range is very important, and I think a lot of people don't get that.
What was that journey like, kind of understanding, I guess, your vocal limitations and kind of adjusting it? Because I think it's a lot of times, and I'm not sure in terms of like the falsetto and things like that, if you're trying to do something that you're not built for, you almost set yourself up for failure. Where if you lay on your strengths and the vocal abilities that you could really punch, that can probably set you up for success, right?
Yeah.
What was that process like, kind of realizing or recognizing your range and how to adjust songs in your range?
So yeah, I started out singing baritone when I was younger, when I was before puberty, I guess.
And what's baritone? I remember like tenor, baritone. What are those
baritone's
levels?
the low male part. Not bass. Bass is the lowest, but then there's baritone. It's like the middle range for a guy, and then the tenor is the high part for a guy.
Okay.
And then so I started singing off the lower part. Just like I heard that first when I started singing the harmony. I heard that first. And I picked up on it quickly, and then after I hit puberty and my voice started to develop some, I jumped to the tenor part. I started singing real high.
Yeah.
And then after years, I've started kind of landed in the middle somewhere. So
Okay.
now I sing, I've got a decent range, I think, but it's more of like if I've got a show coming up, I may adjust some keys. If I'm singing some Bruno Mars stuff, that's just insanely high. I'm not trying to do that. So
Yeah.
I may just adjust the keys, tell my band like, let's adjust that and we'll just go with it. Cause
Yeah. So is that what they mean? It's like, hey, we're gonna do Uptown Funk in C minor.
yeah. That's the key. C minor would be the key.
Okay.
Yeah.
I always wondered what that was. I'm like, the whole entire performance isn't gonna be one note.
Yeah. No, that's the key. So when you say that, you've got a range of notes that fit within that key.
Okay.
That you can go to. So yeah.
So this reminds me back when I was young and my trip into the music world. I actually played trumpet.
Okay.
I was on the honor band, but before that I played piano. And probably one of the biggest mistakes I ever made was quitting piano, because I had a phenomenal piano teacher, and she was French, and she would come to our house and teach us. And I was starting to get the hang of this thing. And then she moved to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom, and at the time my sister was doing recitals. So continuing her music education was important. And we get a new teacher, and I didn't really know about music theory at the time, and I guess she just wanted to tear down whatever I learned and teach me again.
Yeah.
And I remember going painstakingly through these scales, like da 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 da, like back and forth.
Yeah.
And I never understood the purpose of that. Transitioning now for voice, is that something that someone can do in terms of learning their pitch, learning their note, their tone, and kind of getting familiar with the sound they hope to make?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I do it vocally when I'm warming up.
Okay.
For example, I do the scale just the same way.
Okay.
Up and down. I may jump up and down, skip one, jump up, do it differently, arrange it differently, but it's still the same scale. Nice. Up and down. And, doing that and then just taking it up a step, doing it again. Going up and up. You can find your range and figure out what your top note is and what your bottom note is.
Okay. Nice.
So that kind of gives you your range.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. That's going to be something I'm doing in the shower. And Jessica's going to be like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm just getting my range.
Finding my range.
I'm finding my range.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about transitioning into creating your own music now.
Yeah.
Because we talked a lot about the voice, and that was kind of selfish for me in terms of my curiosity. And I think our listeners can kind of benefit from that too, because I just love the idea of different skills or whatnot.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between somebody like me who might like dabble and maybe do okay karaoke, but like somebody like you who has transitioned and excelled to the point you're creating your own songs, making your own music. That's a whole nother animal. That's a whole different beast. Mm-hmm. What was that transition like from the 3-year-old singing with his parents, getting on stage, to you now coming up with an idea for a song and then finding the melody, finding the words, and then putting it out to the world as a finished project?
So, yes, I found my inspiration for the songwriting part of it when I was about 18 and I started dating my wife.
Oh, wow.
And so that was literally my introduction to the song. I had written a song as a kid or whatever, possibly, but that was when I really started to take it seriously. It started to craft songs, and it probably started more so out as like a poem, kind of thing, kind of poetry, just rhyming words, figuring out structures, and it didn't become crafting of a song until a little later. Yeah. But that was the beginning of it, and over the years I've learned a lot of tips and tricks along the way, and structure of a song, such as verse chorus mm-hmm. versus verse chorus bridge, chorus verse bridge, however you want to do it. So there's different ways to structure it, and there's correct ways as well that I've learned, and there's ways that are just harder for people to hear. So the ear is trained to hear it a certain way. Mm-hmm. They're used to hearing a song a certain way. So if you vary from that, it can throw people off, which I've learned, and it's kind of interesting as well. So.
That's interesting, because there's a podcast I love called Dissect, and the host, he breaks down hip hop albums or just different albums. Yeah. And he breaks down Kanye West's album, My Dark Twisted Fantasy. Yeah. And it's the song Runaway. And he talks about how that song always surprises you, because like the piano, the ding, ding, he says that's actually on the 2-note. Yeah. So when the full beat comes in, like he says, when you count the beat, he's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. Well, the piano's on the 2, not the 1. So he's like, you hear the ding on its own, and your brain is automatically going to make that in the 1 spot. That
the 1, yeah.
And then when the full ensemble breaks in, you're like, oh!
Yeah, comes in like, it sounds off.
Yeah, you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And that jar is something that was, I guess, strategically done. Yeah. And so what you're saying is kind of like learning that kind of rhythm and whatnot when songwriting.
Yep.
When you mentioned that you first started when you're dating your now wife, do you think like the inception of feeling can kind of be the foundation of a great song?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's where it comes from. The emotional highs and lows are the best times to write.
Okay.
So if you just had a victory,
Mm-hmm.
it's a great time to write. If you
Yeah.
just had a fight with your wife, it's a great time to write. I literally penned a song just after we had a fight, and I was so frustrated. And I penned it. It was something like, "Baby, right or wrong,
Mm-hmm.
all in all, winter, spring, summer, or fall, I'm in it for the long haul." So no matter what happens, we're fighting right now. Like,
Yeah.
that's the season we're in. Okay, but tomorrow will be good again, and
Mhm.
it'll be all right.
And I think that's what makes music in general so special. I think it's really an audible version of our emotions, and when you
Exactly.
deepen that emotion, and you get the words out, where some folks might journal, some folks might
Right.
think, oh, let me do that. You get the words out, and because it's tapped and rooted in that emotion, it's something that when someone hears it, they can relate to, and they're like, oh man, I felt the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You know.
That's the thing, that anything that you feel, you're not the only one that's ever felt that. A lot of people would relate with that.
Yeah.
And I to hit on another thing you said too, any psychiatrist or any therapist, a lot of times they'll be like, go write it out,
Hmm.
write down your feel, journal. Like, that's the biggest thing a lot of times that they'll recommend is journaling.
Yeah.
Because it's just a good way to get your feelings out. Either nobody ever sees it, even if you write it and then throw it in the trash.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of you've gotten that out of you, and you can move on now.
And to be
Right.
honest, and to that point, like I've done that once where I was frustrated, and maybe Jess and I just got into a little fight or something,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I opened up the notes app in my phone, and I just typed away, and then
Yeah.
deleted it. Like
Yeah.
it was just, I typed it, wrote it down. I'm good.
Yep.
Deep breath and keep it moving.
Yeah.
On to the next one.
Yeah. And as a songwriter, see, I keep all those notes.
Okay.
See, I mean, I'll write when I'm in frustration mode too, but I'll keep that.
Yeah.
And that's I can work that into a song later,
Yeah.
whatever. So I have, my phone is full of notes.
Yeah.
And I have a binder that I've had for 15 years. It's just full of lyrics that I'm
Yeah.
just,
And that's awesome, because when you say like 15 years you've been writing, you've been kind of singing, this is like what we're seeing is chess, not checkers, right? Long game, not short game. I think
Yeah.
we live in a time of instant gratification where, folks are going to be like, okay, I've been trying this singing thing for about 4 months, and it's not panning out, and maybe it's just not for me. But it's like, you've only been doing it for 4 months.
Yeah.
And you see some of these people who have been doing it for years, and you compare yourself to them thinking it's supposed to become quick, but that's not the case. You have to work at it.
Yeah.
When you're making a song, and I'm sure there's probably a lot of different orders that can happen, but what typically comes first? Do you write the words first and then find the melody? Do you hear a melody and think, oh, I have the perfect words for that? Or do you have your bank of all the notes and all the words that you've written, and when you see a melody that kind of hits on the same kind of, emotional chord, the two just tend to match?
I want to hit on one thing before I answer that.
Yeah.
You mentioned just the journey, and I think one thing that I've learned along the way is luck is about being in the right place at the right time.
Okay.
Luck is about putting in the work and putting yourself in a good place.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Gary Vee that said this as well.
Yeah.
It's not luck. There's been a lot of work behind the scenes to get there. And
Yeah.
Very, very rarely is it an overnight success.
Yeah.
That really doesn't happen.
They say it takes 10 years to build an overnight success, right?
And they say the average musician, it takes about 7 years of working hard at their craft before they get the recognition they deserve.
Absolutely. Well, I think yours is coming, man.
Yeah, I'm about 4 years in.
All right. There you go.
But back to your question, yeah. So along the process, over the last however many years I've been writing, I've learned to look for things just every day, all the time. Look for inspiration in all kinds of things. So I'll be walking down the street, or I'll be walking a lot. I do a lot of work in the coffee shops and stuff like that, bookstores. So literally, I'll be walking through, and words will jump off the page at me, and as a title of a song or a lyric of a song. I've just learned to look for those things and take note of them.
Yeah.
As I go through my day-to-day processes, whatever it is. A lot of times, it's lyrics, I would say, more so typically that triggers it. Sometimes it's melody first, so it can vary for me. Sometimes they come together, which is easier.
Yeah.
And then we're already in. We're in the middle of the song.
Yeah. We're in it.
Yeah. And a lot of times it's a chorus. Typically, I find the chorus first, and then I have to go back and craft the verses around it. And that's where I'll go to my lyrics that I've had forever, and I'll flip through the lyrics, and I'll say, okay, this kind of fits the theme, pull it out. This fits the theme, pull it out. And then we'll start to craft verses and bridge, typically is how it goes.
Yeah. Who hears your songs before they're done?
My wife.
Yeah.
She's my greatest critic, which is good.
Yeah.
She has no qualms about being like, that sucks.
Nice.
You need to go back to the drawing board on that one. And I'm good with that. And I respect her opinion, and typically she's right, I must say.
Nice. Yeah.
So
That's why I
her
said
sixth
nice.
sense is pretty good. So.
Yeah. Because I feel like, I mean, when you're working on something, it's good to have that person where you're like, all right, what do you think?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's
as tough as that is.
It's hard, yeah.
Because while she's my greatest critic, she's the one I want to impress the most.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh crap, really? It's not good? Dang it.
Yeah.
You know, like I want her to be like, that's bomb. Like, put it out. You know?
It's funny you mentioned that because, and I don't know if it's about the personal connection we have to somebody, the intimacy that we have with someone, but to your point, I think I have a very low care in terms of what people think.
Yeah.
But if I disappoint Jess or she thinks something's less than par like that, I take that offensively.
Same way. I could care less what people think about me.
Yeah.
But she's the only one that really, really, really matters.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, she can make it sting a little bit.
Yeah.
You know,
like,
she's
babe, you didn't have to say all that.
Yeah.
You could have just said start over.
Yeah.
I like it.
Definitely.
Do you have any songs, and I'm not asking you to share the songs, it's probably a yes or no answer. Do you have any songs that you've written just for your wife and no one else will hear?
That no one else will hear?
Or have not heard yet?
Yeah, definitely that they've not heard yet.
Yeah.
I typically base most of my stuff on our relationship.
Okay.
And in some terms, it probably has our journey woven in there at some point.
Yeah.
A lot of them are completely inspired by her.
Nice.
But to have one that's kind of a secret song just for her, no.
Nice.
I typically put it out. If she likes it and she's like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
You know, or that, you know. But I incorporate our journey all the time.
Plus, if I knew Jess, if your wife is anything like Jess, I'd have a song I wrote just for her and she'd love it and she'd be like, share it because I love it so much.
Yeah, you got. Let me hear my family hear that or whatever.
Yeah. Because if I made it for her, she'd want it to be good, and if it was good, she'd want other people to hear it.
Exactly. Exactly. Now I've actually got a guy that wants a song. He's come to me and has said, "Will you do a song for my wife?"
Yeah.
And he wants me to talk about their journey and make it for her, which is an interesting, new twist that I'm excited to try. So
awesome.
Writing a song for them and their life.
What's that vulnerability like when so much of your music is tapped into the relationship with you and your wife, and you imagine for the listeners who can connect to the music or who get something from it and an impact from it, they're kind of getting that glimpse of kind of what your relationship's like.
Yeah.
When you mentioned, a lot of it's inspired. Your wife okay with that? Is that a discussion you guys had to have in terms of like, hey, listen, our experiences through life is going to feed my music?
Yeah. It's not a discussion we've had, but she's okay with it. I think as far as my family and my wife being in the public eye with me, I try not to do that.
Yeah.
So much. But yeah, I think the vulnerability comes through and people can relate with that.
Mm-hmm.
They can relate to those moments, and and ultimately I want our journey to be an example to other people.
Nice.
Because we've been together, believe it or not, we've been together now. Shoot, I don't want to mess it up on the podcast. Since 2006.
Yeah.
So we were married in 2006. So we were married 14 years.
Nice.
And we don't plan to ever
Keep
not
going.
be married.
Yeah. 14-0.
Yeah.
As my man would say.
So I mean that in itself is something that's kind of unique nowadays.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately people want.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's relatable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's a similar challenge I've gone through when you talk about being in the public eye versus the family is, okay, where's that line?
Right.
Because for me, when Jess and I were first dating, you know, there'll be a lot of girls asking, how, you know, are you seeing somebody, and this
Sure.
the other thing, how come we never see your girlfriend or whatnot? Are you not proud of her? Are you hiding her?
Yeah.
And it was kind of one of those things where, well, I don't want to put her out there first without her being ready for it, because that's going to warrant its own attention. And then
Sure.
secondly, when we did kind of really start posting about our relationship, we're an interracial couple.
Right.
She's Puerto Rican and Italian,
Right.
and that had its own backlash,
Right.
you know? So I guess, where would you put that line in terms of like, hey, you know, I'm fair game, but we'll have a picture here and there. Is she not in any of your public image stuff?
Typically, no.
Okay.
Like, I'm kind of that way. We'll have a picture here and there, you know, on an anniversary, or if we go out one night, or if we're at the beach with the family or whatever. But probably even more so than her, I'm more protective of my kids,
Yeah.
even than her. I just don't trust people with that. You know what I mean? Like with my family when it comes to them. But no, she's, you know, I think she's good, and quite frankly, I consider us an interracial couple as well.
Yeah.
You know, she's British, but she's Caribbean. You know, she's darker skinned than me.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. I mean,
Darker
that's
skin than
fun.
you?
yeah.
No, I'm joking.
Which a lot of people are. That's not hard to do.
We like to have fun on the
Oh, yeah.
podcast. But yeah, that's huge, because I think
That's good too, and realizing what the platforms are made for.
Mhm.
I mean, they're not for you to know who I'm dating, what we did right now, what we did last week.
yeah,
It's a platform for you to know what we allow you to know,
yeah,
for what we allow a part of our life to share with you. So, in contrast, someone asked me. I mean, I am dating someone right now, and we've been dating for a while, and she hasn't. Like, I'll post here and there on my stories, maybe occasionally of her, but like, I mean, she knows her spot, and I know my spot when it comes to her. Like, we live together right now. I'm coming home to her every day, where I'm respecting what she does. She's respecting what I do. She respects my work. I talk about everything through our business with her. She knows names. You know what I mean? She
Yeah.
knows when I interact with women, men. She knows all of it, to where you didn't post me on the story. Well, you don't even post yourself on your story sometimes. You don't even post the work that you're most proud of, that you show me, that you did it for your client, and you didn't even post it on your page. Why didn't you do that? And I'm like, that's not what my social media is for. Like, when we go out, I'll take pictures and stuff on my own phone and save them. Like, I don't have to post them for you. I didn't take the video for you. I took it so I would remember this later.
Yeah.
Or when I want to post a TBT a year from now when it's her birthday, and I got this video that you never seen, y'all like, wait, what? And I'm like, oh, we do a
Got
lot more than
you. Got you.
that's beyond the eye. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I think it's also kind of what I was gonna say was the life we chose almost.
Sure. Facts.
I'm never gonna forget it. This was 2 years ago. Lost my aunt unexpectedly, and that was the first time I had something go on in my life where I was exploring it. I had something to say, didn't know how to say it, and also didn't want to say it because it was not just me going through it.
Right.
And I didn't want to exploit or share anyone else in my family to a life that they didn't sign up for.
Right.
You know, sure, I might have signed the contract and accepted that, okay, I'm going to be in the public eye with my job, but I don't want to have to expose my family unwillingly, my extended family, my cousins, my mom, my dad, my aunts and uncle, to talk about what we're going through.
Sure.
Because that was, quite frankly, a time I needed to be off social media and with my family.
Anyways, yeah.
And in hindsight, I was so glad that I did what I did. All I did was, after the fact, the following Monday after the funeral, I just posted a black screen, white text that says, I'm not the strongest one in my family. R.I.P. to my aunt. And that's it. And that's all I had to give to the situation. I want to talk now, because we're coming into towards the tail end of the podcast. Your music, man. I want to give folks an opportunity to check you out and all that. And you had a new single just dropped.
Yes.
This was this November, right?
November, yeah.
Yeah. Talk about that, because you slowed it down on us, man.
Yeah, so I wanted to do like a legit R&B joint and show people that I can do that.
Yeah.
Like, that's a major influence in my music. Is the 90s R&B stuff. Boys to Men, Brian McKnight, you know, Casey and JoJo. Like, that was my stuff in high school. And so I wanted to kind of pay tribute to that and do a legit R&B joint, so people know that I can do that as well. So
Yeah.
so that's what it was. Yeah, and it was actually a lyric I've had for years and never knew how to use it.
Yeah.
I finally was able to piece it together with some other stuff and make a song out of it. So yeah.
So what was the inception for that? How did it come about? Let people know exactly what you tried to hit with the song, because Jess and I have played it a couple times. I'm not going to tell you the setting that was in. But
Yeah, it was literally, it's a tribute to my wife. It's about, and a tribute to all the ladies.
Yeah.
You know, and about someone that you love. It's about falling in love with the person, the soul, the whole being, like falling in love with their life and their character and everything. I just summarize that by saying, I love your way.
Yeah.
Just everything about you.
Yeah.
You know, so
That's awesome.
yeah, simplify it.
Yeah, Jess likes that song a lot too. She made me add that to the playlist. Not that she had to twist my arm to.
Yeah. Yeah,
but
man.
that was added to the playlist. And you're working on a number of projects now.
Yes.
Beforehand, 2020 is a big year for you.
Yeah.
You're coming out swinging, huh?
Yeah, I am, and I'm trying hard to make my run this year, and get to a level of success that I want to get to.
Yeah.
And the goal is a minimum of like 6 originals this year.
Nice.
Probably we'll put that on an EP, you know, as a collection to make that available too. But also hitting hard the YouTube, hitting hard the cover songs. I'm gonna do a lot of cover songs this year. I think those are at my level of success and as an artist, people aren't just looking for me yet.
Yeah.
So if I'm singing songs that they know, they're more likely to find me.
Yeah.
And then they can find my original stuff after the fact. So I recognize that, and I'm going to start putting out a lot more songs that are hitting on the radio already.
Yeah. Kind of get people used to the voice, and then
Yeah,
they can
show them what I can
venture
do, and then okay, now here's my other stuff too, if you like
Absolutely.
that. So
out. Little appetizer.
I mean,
before
there's
the
not
main
many
course.
artists that didn't once do a cover in their life.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Right.
in a way, it's also showing respect to the type of music that you do like, type of music
Mhm.
that you can do. You show people you're versatile without having to show them everything. So,
Yeah.
Yep.
I
I
like
think
that.
was it didn't Justin Bieber have like a cover song or something that Usher found him or something like that on
know.
YouTube?
I know Somo became famous off just straight covers.
Yeah.
Teddy
Yeah.
Swims is the latest guy that's done it. I
Really?
think I showed you. Did I show you
I
his
think
stuff last
so.
time? Yeah,
I think
he's
so.
incredible, man. And literally in a span of like 6 months.
And the sexy and I know it, dude.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Oh my god.
He did it with covers. Noah
Yeah.
Guthrie. Shout out to
Yeah.
Noah. He's in Greer, man. He's from
so
Greer,
good,
so he's
man.
touring now and doing his
Yeah.
thing. So yeah,
And
it
I
can
feel
be done.
like there's a lot of great talent coming out of the upstate.
Really is.
You know, was it Marcus King Band? Aren't they
Yep.
out of the area?
They've
been killing
blown
it.
up, man. They were on Fallon and
Yeah.
another one of the late night shows the other day.
Yeah. So I mean,
They're killing it.
honestly, I think you're in the right environment.
Yeah.
And it's very fertile ground here.
Yeah.
You know, just go ahead and say it now. Brad Keaton, the next big thing to come out of the upstate of South Carolina.
I'm saying it on the
Claiming
radio
that.
rainbow,
Yeah.
man.
That's right.
I'm excited to catch some of the videos and stuff that you're putting up on YouTube. I wanted to go because you said something that kind of sparked this question about the length of a song. Because you were saying, you know, the goal is 6 originals this year, right?
Yeah.
And I want to debunk this for people because I had a friend who he was an up and coming rapper, and he was working on an album, and everyone was like, dude, it's taking you so long to work on this album. And I mean, you hear some people, some artists like, yeah, you know, I wrote the song in about 15, 20 minutes or something. But like, there's so much more to that in the song process. And I know we've touched on like the structure of writing and kind of making the song, but how long would you say like making a song can be? It could be anywhere from a short amount of time, long amount of time. What would you say is the length of time for that?
As far as crafting the song,
Yeah.
it varies. And like you said, some songs I've written in one setting. Just sit down, have an inspiration, sit down. You heard the song Yours. I just want to be yours. I wrote that one very fast.
Yeah.
Because I had a melody in place, sat down at the keyboard, played some simple chords with it. And that one was done, not even in one setting now, but probably a week.
Mm-hmm.
That one was done because I took it to the guy that was producing it. He added some stuff to it, which inspired me even more to continue to write and finish it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, some songs just like flow out of you. And I tell people a lot when I do shows and stuff, like that one literally just kind of poured out. Like that one was there, ready to be written,
Mm-hmm.
just waiting for me to put pen to paper, and it came out.
Yeah.
And then some, like I said, I've had lyrics for 10 years before that I'm like, this is a good lyric. I believe in this lyric. I'm going to hold on to it.
Yeah.
And then Your Way was one of those.
Yeah.
And so I just held on that for forever because I got to fit this in somewhere.
Yeah. And then it came back.
Yeah. And it comes back around. It comes back around later on. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. I want to give our listeners an opportunity to hear your vocal ability before I sign off here. Before that happens, go ahead and drop all the social media platforms, definitely the YouTube channel, the Spotify that they have to search and everything. And of course, I'm going to have it in the show notes, but let them know where they can find you and hear some more of your music.
Sure. BradKeatonMusic.com is the website. That's probably the easiest.
Nice.
They can get everything there, links to all that stuff. But Instagram, Facebook, Twitter is all at Brad Keaton Music.
Nice.
And then YouTube is just youtube.com/Brad Keaton.
Nice. And I want to recap some of the things you said in terms of the emotional highs and lows being the best times to write.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome because I've been trying to pick up on the habit of journaling.
Yeah.
And I find that writing down my thoughts, and especially when they're heightened in one way or another, oddly enough, I'm more articulate. Mm-hmm. It's almost like because I'm heightened, I want to get it out, and I'm more focused on getting the thought or the feeling out. So that's definitely a great tip. I love that you said that, and the fact that luck is really the hard work meeting the opportunity. It's you got to put in the work, and they always say, 10 years to build an overnight success. You'll be shocked at how fast the success comes after you put in the time of work.
Might look like luck to a lot of people, but it's
not.
Typically not.
It's not. And I'll work on my range in
the shower.
In the shower. I'll make sure I play this podcast for Jess before when she's just like, "What are you doing in that shower?" La 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 la. That's all I got.
Tell Jess I told you that one.
Yeah. I'll blame it on you when she's walking around with earplugs. But yeah, Brad, I'd love for you to drop a verse of a song of your choice.
Okay.
And let our listeners here really give them a taste on what they're going to be hearing throughout the year 2020.
Okay. I'll do a little verse off of Moving On. This is one of the songs that I wrote too.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like heartache is a friend of mine, and I feel like getting drunk on killing time. Ooh, ooh. So I think I'll go out on a Friday night, and maybe everything will be alright. Ooh, 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 ooh. I wrote the right song for the wrong one, and now she's gone, but to each their own. Bruised my heart, but baby, it didn't break. You got me burning bridges down every road I take. But baby, I'm moving on. Yeah, yeah. Baby, I'm moving on.
See, I was lip singing. I didn't want to mess it up. That's a great one, man. Thank you so much. I think that's enough to pull our listeners in to hear the rest of what you got.
Sweet.
I'll have all those links in the show notes. Guys, check my man out. 2020 is going to be, I think it's going to be a pivot year for you, man.
I agree, bro. I feel like the momentum has been building to this point, and everything is in place.
I can't wait. Brad, man, thanks for being on the podcast.
Sir, man. Thank you.
For the listeners that made it to the end, I'm sure, and I know you enjoyed it, definitely so many tidbits to take back. And of course, if you look at your life like a song that you're writing, understand that you're going to have your emotional highs, your emotional lows, but find your melody, find your range, and then find somebody that coincides with that. Find someone to live your life with, and keep on pushing through those rains and the storms, because I promise you, the rainbows, they're out there for you. Everybody wants the sunshine, but they don't want the rain. But you can't get the pleasure without a little pain. Let's grow. Yeah. Rainbows podcast is recorded at Camaraderie, a collective workspace in Greenville, South Carolina, right off the Swamp Rabbit Trail. If you're looking for a place to grow your business, network with other professionals, and establish your own workspace, Camaraderie is the place to do so.